Let's see if that just works. Your microphone has been muted. I have no idea. Ooh, that might actually be working for a change. It may be working. Well, if it is working, hi, I'm the smoking cheddar, but you probably already knew that. So, stop scrolling. Let's leave it on that so I can move over to the other monitor. And wait for people to turn up. I know this is short notice. It's better than a surprise stream. And should you be arriving after the fact, there will be a link in the description box down below for cats.org, the shelter, the animal shelter for the UK. As always, if you are interested in helping my channel out, don't help out a charity instead. That's what I've always maintained, and that's what I'm maintaining even now. Catsprotection.org. I can get it right. I know what's in the description box. I put it there. Anyway, this is going to be a very quick stream. It's only going to be about an hour long. Let me just open this Pepsi, because of course Pepsi still have not contacted me about a sponsorship, so naturally. And this is regarding a very specific set of things I want to talk about this stream, and that is I had some information cross my lap. Now, I am technically in the content creators community. Let me just pull up Discord wherever the hell it's gone. It's gone. It's disappeared. It has disappeared for some reason. Discord has turned itself off because naturally it would, of course. And it'll become relevant, don't worry, as to why I am talking about Discord. Basically, I was sent pictures of the new officer that's coming out. And I was sent this through Discord. And I am in the content creators Discord, and I do have access to the test server, but I never ever register for a login for it. I am not really interested. I'm more interested in what is in the game currently. Now, why is that relevant to what is going on with the upcoming officers? I'm assuming by now you've all seen Death Wish's video. I haven't, but I'm not really interested in watching Warpath content. That's not the sort of thing I watch on YouTube. So someone else has watched it and they've sent over the screenshots of the skills and what they do. And I have to say, I'm extremely disappointed in Lilith. This new officer that's coming out is going to objectively be used to encourage turtling. Now, what do I mean by that? Is Discord still not running? No, it's still not running. That's a shame, because I actually had everything all set up ready to go on Discord. He says, trying to open Discord to find out why it's not opening. Discord? Why are you not open? All right, whatever. It doesn't want to let me log in. Maybe I haven't filled out my online ID enough for Keir Starlin. Anyway, that's beside the point. The new officer has a couple of abilities. I shall just get them so I can read them to you. I was going to put them up on the screen through Discord, but apparently my Discord does not wish to work. So let me just open it up on my phone. Do. So the tactical skill. Shall we discuss the tactical skill? Deals skill damage to an enemy, damage coefficient of 2,200. If this officer is an artillery troop and it's garrisoned, the damage coefficient is increased by 50%. So we're going to go up to 3,300, are we? Right, okay. And the boosted skill damage will be shared with one troop within 2 map grids. If no enemy troops are present within that range, the damage will not be shared. So that means you get a splash attack of 1,100. And this vague wording would indicate that, in actual fact, if you are pulling your super heavy or your infantry to the other side of the opponent's base, so the splash damage does not target within 2 map grids, it sounds like you're going to get the full 3,300 directly on top of your soak unit. So if you are a base-to-base player, or you run small AGs where you like to target enemy bases and they have this officer on a on a high FP unit, you are going to be absolutely screwed, because you're going to be receiving quite an extensive amount of skill damage. Bear in mind, 3,300 is more than the 2 previous generations. We would get an average of 3k through to 1,500 officers up until fairly recently. As citation, disallowing for scaling against armor, that's 15. Disallowing for the coefficiency buff, that is 15. He does get a bonus 300, but again, that is 15. And then the further back we go, we're going back into... You get the picture. 15, 15. You get the picture. Except for him, but we never talk about him because he's fucking useless, and he's even more useless now. But that's beside the point. So that's the tactical skill. Going on to the second skill, which is a balanced skill. Whenever this officer is in an artillery troop, the firepower is increased by 30%. As we know, the firepower directly affects your skill damage output. That is actually kind of upsetting, because 30% is quite high. You also get an HP buff, which means if you're at the end of the modern tree for your artillery, you're going to be dealing even more bonus firepower. Here's a good one. The next skill along, the third skill, increases damage intensity of the officer's troop by a total of 15%. That doesn't sound particularly good. If this troop is garrisoned, it goes up by a further 20. You get a 35% damage intensity bonus. If you've put any points into advanced city defense, you're going to get a further 35% damage intensity when defending. What's the point? Your unit is going to get shredded. The special. When this officer troops attacks an enemy, it reduces the enemy's damage resistance by 15% for 4 seconds. If this troop is garrisoned in your base, the damage resistance is reduced by a further 20. So you're getting a 35% damage resistance debuff on the target. And as you know, you can stack those. Because that's what I've been doing when I've been doing my attacks or my defenses. And last but not least is the Awaken skill. When this officer's artillery troop attacks an enemy shield, deals skill damage, and it ignores the enemy shield for up to 600 damage coefficient, and can be triggered once every 2 seconds. I mean, do I really need to say how broken that is? This is turtles being rewarded with a turtle specific officer. This is not a defensive combo. like Argent Flame and Stinger Fist. Oh no, this is a turtle specific officer. And this is kind of why I actually wanted to have access to my Discord this evening, so I could show you what I was going to do about it, which was I was going to on stream leave the Content Creators Club. Why am I going to leave the Content Creators Club? Well, I said very specifically to the devs only 2 or 3 weeks ago that if you constantly pander to the people who spend a lot of money in the game and they want to have higher and higher and higher kill death ratios, and they want to get monster battle reports, look how many thousands I killed for 10% of my base, the more you pander to that, the more plankton are gonna go, it's not worth my time, not worth my effort. Okay. And that has a knock-on effect, because a whale needs to eat plankton in order to survive. It, I believe, was the words I used to some sort of effect. And they said, that's okay, we'll look into it. Next thing I know is this officer's coming out. Now, again, I do have access to the test server, and I could have found out about this officer prior today, but I never use my my credentials for that. I don't really see the point in me going into the test server, because I don't really like dealing with stuff that isn't out yet. I don't think that's really fair. I like to see what it is when I get a hold of it and how it behaves. When we're all getting it at the same time, I don't see this whole hype train as being any good for anyone. And this officer is going to cause a big problem for base-to-base players. It's going to cause a problem for small army groups as well. What do I mean by small army groups? Army groups that are filled by 2 or 3 online active players. This is something you'd see in Silver. Now, or maybe even Gold 3. Now, if you're going in to Silver or Gold 3 and you start seeing this brand new officer, Steel Angel, appear, you're pretty much guaranteed that you're going to lose your first attack. Even with tactic cards, there's not much hope for you. How can we counter this? Well, in the short term, there is actually a method we can counter it, but you're not going to like it. So we can get a damage resist bonus of up to 10% through the advanced tree, and you can get that 4 times. You can get once for the tank, once for the infantry, once for the artillery, and once again for the aircraft. And this will give you a total of 40% damage resist bonus. And I'd like to point out, this is troop, base, and troop. Okay, so you can apply this to every single unit. This is applied to every single unit and your base. So it's a pretty good stat. But the reason why this officer is bust is most players, and that I do mean 95% of players, including myself, as is obvious with this live stream, do not have that 40% yet. And I, as you can also see, have recently removed my subscriptions to the game. I no longer subscribe to Warpath. I will go into that at a later date if any of you are so interested as to finding out the specific reason as to why. And yes, this probably could have been a video that I could have edited and uploaded, but I would rather do it in a live stream format, because if there's anyone with any questions out there, you can pop them in and I can respond to them now, even though this is going to be a relatively short stream. And we have options available to us in what we can and can't do. Obviously, completing our advanced techs, all 4 of them, will give us a 40% damage resistance bonus to that unit. That is one method. We also have the domination core, which you can see I'm now powering through, but now I'm thinking maybe this is a waste of time. This gives us a few extras like firepower, a few other passives, but it also gives us troop base damage resistance again here, which again goes up to 5%. And at the end here, we do get a bonus to intensity, which is handy if you're going in base to base. But this all requires you to invest vast amounts of time and effort into basically catching up with one officer. That's insane. That's insane. The other option is that you quit playing, because this curve is going to get worse. We're now on, how many officers have they released in like the last 6 months for the ground? Margarita, again, we're popping out 1800 with a bonus of 550. We've got so she's pretty good in field with artillery. She's also good in siege mode because, again, high firepower, good for siege. We've got Frostfire. We've got Lady of Shadow. Ventura, he was released last year, but he's still pretty powerful in terms of our siege output. And it's looked like we were going to get more with the release of Iron Cavalier and Dawn Anthem. We were going to get more base to base capability to wipe out really strong bases, and they've just taken that away from us, which is really, really dumb in my opinion. I believe Dawn Anthem is decent counter, which will keep things the same for SH players. It's a possibility. It's genuinely a possibility, because we do get a bonus damage resistance, and she's basically like Svalin but souped up. I don't think that she's gonna make enough of an impact to counter this new defensive officer, if I'm honest. Because you've got to remember, when you complete these tech trees that I'm talking about, complete the advanced tech trees, we're not just talking about the base and troop damage resistance bonuses that you're getting. We're also talking about them potentially having a 10% damage intensity bonus, which again can be stacked across all units and whatever unit you've then decided to put this officer on. Now, in terms of Steel Angel, I know there are going to be some of you out there who will want to know what I recommend to put Steel Angel on. I don't recommend the ATG. I recommend an artillery unit. More specifically, I recommend as an aid to Argent of Flame. Why? I hear you say, and that is because we get a 25% skill damage bonus to the aid, and we get garrison capabilities increased through Argent Flame as well. So instead of having Argent Flame and Stinger Fist, which is the standard go-to defensive combo, we're now looking at Argent Flame and Steel Angel as being the potential combo, and then running Stinger Fist on like another artillery piece. But I'm pretty annoyed. I don't think this is a good officer. I don't think this is good for the community. I think this is going to make it harder for smaller players to participate. It's going to be a core officer. You're going to need her with a flat. What has she got? A flat damage output of 2,200. So even if you take away the fact all that skill output, her flat output is still more than Stinger Fists. And out in the field, the Argent Flame Stinger Fist combo is still a pretty good siege gun. It's not like siege specific. It's not going to be as good as Vent and Eye or Shadow and Frost, but it's not terrible. Hang on, let me see if I can pull up some battle reports from the last conquest just to show you. Is that a base? No, that is a base defense. Ignore that one. Here's one where I took out a base. So we have Okay, so this is the defensive gun. 25.2 million. It doesn't particularly look that good against a 81 or a 77 siege gun. And yeah, that was for 2 minutes. I don't know why that was for 2 minutes. I probably wiped the base out in so many seconds and then took a couple of extra seconds to take out the units. In fact, judging by the fact the bomber's got 200 kills, I'd imagine that is exactly what I did. I wiped out the base and then used the bomber to rack up the kills. So we're looking at perhaps increasing this one maybe up to 30. And you've got to remember, this is Silver 2. So these numbers do look low, but for Silver 2, they are particularly high. The players most seriously affected by Steel Angel will be the ones who tank using MBT and its 5-second shield. Yes. Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. But then to be fair, they're also the ones that are most affected by an anti-tank gun as well. Give or take. Over a lot of people like to talk about overpen like it massively reduces the amount of damage output. It doesn't. It doesn't. It really doesn't. I know it doesn't because my anti-tank gun pulls weight. I mean, my unit damage is exceeding my skill damage on my ATG by quite a margin. And if we look at perhaps a defense here, we can see that the ATG, again, we're pulling 38 in a defense, which probably, yeah, it's only second to this. But obviously once you've gone through the armor, the artillery is going to pick up the enemy artillery. So I agree. I think those who are going to be most affected are genuinely going to be the MBT tankers, the MBT soakers. But this is still not going to be sniffed at when you can ignore the enemy shield for 600 damage coefficiency with such a high damage intensity, especially if you've built your base towards being a whale, like a blocker, someone who likes to turtle. Now, there's nothing wrong with turtling. I fully agree with it as a strategy. The issue I have specifically with turtling is that you will get players that only turtle. They won't use the turtle to their advantage. So when I turtle an enemy area, I'm probing for attacks. I'm gathering battle reports. I'm now saying, hey, what have these guys got as officers? I'm reading it. And then I'm using that when I go back and attack later. Or alternatively, when my base is attacked, I then counter attack almost immediately. I think I've put out a couple of PvP videos in the last few months of me doing exactly that. And that is kind of how I see turtling should be played. You should be using it as a shell to protect yourself before going on the offensive. But last Conquest, I encountered probably about 3 or 4 players that were just pure turtle. Okay, they had advanced city defense. They had pretty much no tech in offense whatsoever. And I know this because one of them started a build. The other one turned up and they sat there in base-to-base contact for 4 fucking days. Neither of them attacked each other for 4 days. And it's not like these guys went AFK. Oh no, they were online, because the moment my fighter went out to do something or my bomber went out to do something, these guys were up in the air trying to shoot me down. It was the whole Conquest was a mess. Everyone was fighting everyone. There was no allegiances being held. But I just think that if that's what it's like now, if you're giving people a turtle specific officer aimed at making your turtle artillery more dangerous, then that is going to be more pervasive. You're going to see it more often. It's not going to just be something that you see in Silver 2 or occasionally in Silver 1. This is going to be something that ends up being a thing in Gold. It was bad enough when I did see it in Gold because obviously, you know, everyone's got all of the extras that go with it. Oh, by the way, how's my mic today? Is it okay? Like it's not distorted or anything, even though I'm getting quite excited. Is my mic okay? You can just give a little smiley face if it is. But yeah, I don't think this officer. Thank you very much, my friend. I don't think this officer is particularly a good idea. I think this officer is a particularly bad idea. And this isn't me saying it. Oh, woe is me. My base to basing is going to take a hit. I don't care about that. What I care about is how this is going to affect everyone who goes on the attack, and how this just rewards people for blocking a build and just logging off. It's going to slow the game pace right down. And the problem is she is so powerful with her skill damage output. So powerful that she's going to be a core officer. You're going to need her. She is basically another shadow. You're going to need this officer. And it's going to force us all to take her. And infantry officers haven't been updated for a soak in what? 2 years? Is it 2 years? Let's have a look. Let me have a quick look. When did I put out my video? Content, videos. What was the date I released my officer spotlight on what's her face? Everbloom. Here we go. March, the 5th of March 2024. So she was probably released around February. So what, a year and a half? About a year and a half? And in that time, how many tank officers have we had? I mean, infantry is always going to be an option to soak an enemy base. And I think infantry blobbing is going to have to start being a thing. I think we're going to need to infantry blob more. And I'm not talking about just using an optional infantry in order to push. I mean, everyone who's attacking has to now start running infantry soak in order to stack that damage resistance higher to counter this damage intensity and splash damage fallout. It's the only way I can see it really working. I don't think SH players are going to be unaffected by this officer at all. I really, really hope they nerf this officer prior to release. And I'm still going to use her. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to use this officer. But I'm just warning you guys now that I think this officer is going to tip people to the point where it's not going to be fun for them. I think they're going to log in, they're going to lose 1,000 units and just go, this isn't fun anymore. And then they're going to log out. And I think as a result, we're going to see a massive push away from the game. As General Grievous once said in episode 3, it's time to abandon ship, as Rusty so rightly reminded me. So, yeah. Do we guys have any more questions?
Mic off. Mic on.
I mean, It's more of a case. No, so what makes her strong? It, what makes her strong is that instead of but she gets a 50. No, she gets a 50% skill bonus. She gets a 50% skill bonus. She does 2,200, and then she gets additional 50%. So she's actually more powerful, and she can attack one additional enemy troop rather than two. Whereas Stinger Fist can hit two, we can hit an additional one here, which is why I think this is dangerous. Because I mean, if you have a high enough firepower output on that artillery unit, your additional splash could effectively hit an artillery piece and more or less one tap it. I mean, what I'm talking about is basically pairing her with Argent Flame and then putting Stinger Fist with perhaps rather controversially Berserker Bear, and then sticking them on an RL because of how the RL mechanics work and how Carnage would be very useful for the pair of them. But that's me going into the deeper realms of my mind and how I can see these mechanics playing out. And I think yes, that's right. But you're talking about a 2,200 start with a 600, because you've got to remember, when she's awakened, she gets a bonus 600 against a shielded target, plus an additional 50%. And that's before you've added the 25% on from Argent Flame. It's going to be bad. It's going to be deadly. And I've actually already seen footage of her being played. MBTs, just regular MBTs, when they get hit with that splash attack without Argent Flame, get 50%ed. So you're going to really hurt people. I mean, I could be wrong. This could get nerfed back. But from what I've seen so far, this is going to get so many kills for a defensive player. So if you're turtling, she is just going to rack up kills for you. I mean, Argent Flame is good with Stinger Fist, but Steel is going to be better. Stinger Fist can be good pretty much on any defensive unit because of that bonus. He gets a nat 25. But we're talking about getting a nat 50 here. So on top of the fact that she's already dealing more damage. It's just so, there's so much wrong with this new officer. It is unfair, and that's why I wanted to do a live stream, because I just wanted everyone to be slightly more aware that your army groups are at massive risk without bonus damage intensity and bonus HP being thrown onto your units. They're at massive risk now. Like I said, you could be right. I could be completely making a mountain out of a molehill, and I could be very, very wrong. And I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. There is going to be plenty of people out there who know more about the mechanics than me. I am not the be-all and end-all for Warpath users and Warpath mechanics. There are other people who do it way better than I do. I just do this as a hobby, but I am going to leave the content creators Discord, I think, now. And I'm going to start moving away, because I don't think that this game, after the release of this officer, is going to survive. I think the plankton, me and you, the plankton, the people who are just regular players, we're going to struggle against Wales to a degree we've never seen before. And they're just being rewarded with this officer, is how I view it. She's slightly better than Argent and similar to Stinger. Yeah, pretty much. But it's more of a case of pairing her with Argent Flame that's the issue, because you can get that natural 50% plus his bonus 25%. Whereas at the moment, the Argent Flame Stinger Fist combo works really well because he gets a bonus 25% naturally, and then you give him another 25%, which is why it's such a dangerous combo, which is why in defensives you see this combo on an artillery. It absolutely ruins stuff out in the field. It is absolutely amazing as a unit. And yeah, man, I don't want to be that guy, that's like doom and gloom, the game is over. I don't think the game is over, but I think they run the real risk of not being able to allow non-Wales to participate. You are right, though, in that Dawn Anthem is going to be helpful. Excuse me, that's the Pepsi. Where's my sponsor, Pepsi? Get on it. Get tweeting them. Don't. Whenever this officer's troop enters combat, increases damage resistance of the officer's troop and all nearby allied troops within 2 map grids by up to 20%. So this is going to mitigate a lot of that. And I will be training this in, most likely. At the moment, I've got Dodge trained in on my infantry. And Dodge is okay, but I don't think it's working as intended. I think this is going to have to be the skill that I train in, either to the artillery troop proper, so the artillery troops get it, or I train it directly into the infantry, because this is just yeah. I think you're going to have to start looking for skills like this and overlapping them, which is why I said infantry blobs are going to be more important going forwards. So yeah, that is I've labelled this as a Warpath Q&A, but it is really just an excessive rant on my behalf, explaining why I don't like this officer, because she's too good.
Mic off. Mic on.
Of which you have my sincerest apologies, because I feel like I've duped you slightly today. It is not my intention. It was not my intention to make you guys feel like, oh, look, we're going to get to ask and answer loads of questions. And it's really just been me ranting on for 37 minutes now about this new Steel officer. But please, while I still have 10 minutes of free time, please feel free to ask me questions, not necessarily about this new Steel officer, but about anything. Because time is limited for me this evening, so I would very much like to hear some additional questions. Maybe I can help, maybe I can't. Who knows? I sure as hell don't. Not until you ask him anyway. Can you explain where the officer power figure comes from in the stats column? Kind of. I can kind of explain. Are you on about this one here? The power info. So it's either. So that was 17.1. We remove him. Does it stay at 17.1? No. So in that case, I've never actually tested this before, but I've always suspected it. So this is as good a time as any to test. We've just tested it. We've removed it and put him back on. And our officer power stat remains unchanged. And we can click on the officer. You can see here the officer has a power value. So the power value will translate to your officer power value here. So 17.1 is an indicator that they have quite, I wouldn't say a few, but like some officers awakened. Let's just use, yeah, fuck it. We'll use Sombra. We'll use Sombra for an example. Let's have a look and see what Sombra's got. View. Officer power value 14.6. So the guy's got less awakened officers than me. But it's not necessarily awakened officers. It's how many statues you've invested into skills. So, excuse me, that's the Pepsi repeating on me. My sincerest apologies. I normally drink one when I'm recording, and I have to edit that out so much. My apologies. We've also... does this actually affect... Hang on. Let's see if this affects it. Okay, it does. So my guess would be it's a combination... It's a combination of applied skills. So you've got your awakened skills that brings your officer up to say 408, and then you start putting in additional skills. It goes up to 450, and then you have all awakened skills and 2 complete skills. You're going up to 558. I'm guessing she's the same. Yeah, because these 2 I have both trained. So your officer power stat indicates to your opponent how many skills you have access to in a potentially defensive scenario. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's the sum of individual officer power, but it's more to do with your integrated power with your officers. So it's going to include every single officer and every single skill that I have done, but then it's going to add bonus power points for the skill training aspect of it. So 17.1, you can look at me and you can say, hey, that guy might have quite a few skills. Let's have a look at someone who I know from the last conquest was particularly hard to fight. Officer power here was 15.6, and this was a very hard player to fight against. Yeah, effectively, it doesn't tell you what skills they have. It just tells you there's a likelihood that it's going to be dangerous. If you had to combine 2 types of cheese, what would they be and what would you call it? That is an easy question, Alfie. That is an easy question. Mozzarella and cheddar. And I would call it chode. Chodzella. Chedzella. Chodzella. Chode? I don't know. I would call it something. Camera has gone off. I don't know. Sounds like a you problem. Doesn't look like it on my screen. And even if it has, it doesn't matter because in 10 minutes I will be I'll be out of here anyway. What's the best build for a Martyr fighter? Well, that's a big question. It depends what you want to do with a Martyr fighter. Let's just start off by assuming you want to dogfight. Let's go to the manual and have a look. Modern, because why not? Martyr, fighter planes. So we've got enhanced maneuverability. And enhanced damage absorption reduces damage taken from enemy fighter planes by 15%. So these are the two stats we're probably going to want to look at. Let's have a look at the tech tree. We get enhanced maneuverability and enhanced firepower. We get speed, bonus maneuverability, intensity, resistance, fighter plane HP, bomber HP. Okay, so it looks like we're looking to gear towards maneuverability. So let's have a look at the officers quickly. I'm going to suggest... don't really need that. That's good, but don't really need that. Attack resilience buff, normal attack boost, intercept. Got a nice shield coefficient here of up to 1500. But it doesn't really boost maneuverability. We get maneuverability and shield bonus here. Maneuverability of up to 40%. HP, another maneuverability bonus. And damage resistance. Who else can we use? Who else has got maneuverability? I would, if I was doing a Martyr fighter, I'd go with the Witcher as the captain. And Sky Jockey as the aide. Because I think like you're looking at being able to absorb a lot of damage because we've got a high amount of HP. We've got a higher amount of damage absorption against enemy fighters, which means we're basically good for soaking. We've got a very, 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 very high chance to dodge with all these maneuverability buffs. I don't know if there's actually another officer which will capitalize on that maneuverability. I think she's yeah, she's a lounge officer. I'm pretty sure she's a lounge officer. Yeah, she's a lounge officer. Yeah, that's probably what I'd go for then. Witcher and Sky Jockey. It would actually give you that sort of that multi-purpose thing, but it would be a really good engagement. Hang on, let me just that's now starting to bother me. I don't know why it does this. Hide. Unhide. Hide. Look how small I am. Look how big I am. Oh, look, you can have a look at my office now. In all of its glory. I normally have this bit off. I don't know why it does that. I'm going to shrink that now. Whew. Look how small I am. Hooray. Yeah. I would stick with the single stat. So how I run a lot of my builds is I look at what I want the unit to do specifically. And I start focusing really heavily on a single stat. So with my anti-tank gun, I knew I wanted to do a lot of penetration damage. So I focused very heavily on the unit damage, the firepower, and the penetration damage bonuses. And I started building my anti-tank gun around that. With my infantry, I knew I was going to want a lot of hit points. I was going to want a lot of damage absorption. So I started building it around that. There's more than with a maneuverability build, you'd probably want to go for your auxiliary slot, item slot, probably um, HP rather than firepower as well. Because what you got to think about is, how am I going to use this fighter? So we're going to use maneuverability. How does maneuverability work? Well, for every time you get shot at, there is a chance for you to effectively dodge a shot, right? So by having more hit points, you can have a longer sustained attack against an enemy target, and then you can capitalize on it with more HP by effectively using. It's basically a sustained fight. You're not looking to end the fight quickly. With my fighter, I use a combination of critical strikes and intercept, because I want my initial intercept to be a critical strike, because I want that fight to be over quickly. I don't want to have a sustained fight. But with a maneuverability bonus, by stacking maneuverability, you are able to prolong a fight, especially if you're going to start blasting in a ton of HP. And it has multiple uses, because you can basically hold enemy fighters in place, or you can hold above an enemy base while you carpet bomb the base with all your other bombers. So you've got options available to you. It's also not quite a full soak setup. You could go double shield. You could go Silver Fox and The Witcher, and go for like a stacked, sort of like a stacked shield bonus, but you're not going to put out a lot of damage. So yeah, I think you got, depending on which way you want to go more, whether you want to have a bit more air to air capability, or whether you want to be a bit more absorbent from damage from the ground, you probably want to look at those three officers, definitely. And there's no wrong answer by saying taking Silver Fox, for example. You can totally take Silver Fox instead. You'd just be stacking the damage resist. But what I look at is a specific stat. Now, I know the Martyr, you want to build a fighter around the Martyr unit. We know that the Martyr unit specifically has enhanced stats in maneuverability. So we know that we get bonus maneuverability in the tech tree as well. So we can just move that one stat way outside the range of what would be considered normal for another unit, and specialize in one specific stat. It's why certain types of setups work really well, like Argent Flame, Stinger Fist, back to that again. It's why it works really well. Yeah, yeah, like I said, it's a good, having the bonus damage resistance is absolutely fantastic. Um, if it was me personally, though, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be doing um, those two. I think that's probably your most effective, your effective output. Anyway, that's not a problem. That's why I make these. I make these videos because the game is quite complicated. It's not by any stretch of the imagination an easy game to understand, and that's why I've been quite worked up about this new officer, because this new officer is going, if it's applied correctly, is going to really destroy enemy army groups. Um, and I don't think that's good. I'm not saying we shouldn't have the capacity to defend our bases. I'm saying there should come a point where we shouldn't be able to clean sweep large groups of enemy units. And I think we're kind of bordering on that at the moment. So I've got enough time for one last question before I depart. So, who wants the honour? First come, first serve. Because I have to go in about 5 minutes or less. Probably less, actually. Or we could sit here in silence. We could totally sit here in silence. Or I could show you my Hot Wheels cars. Or some of the Warhammer I've painted. Or so I could show you around some of the office. There you go, you've seen the whole office. It's not a very big room. It's not a very big room at all. But anyway, yes, there is links in the description box down below for catsprotection.org. As always, don't donate to me. Donate to a charity, please. It doesn't have to be in my name. Do it in your own name. If you live in the UK, that is my preferred charity. If you live somewhere outside of the UK, please donate to your local animal shelter or children's hospice or whatever you think is a worthy cause. I've been the Smoking Cheddar and you've been very patient. I have about 2 minutes of time left and then I will be disappearing out of this stream. And this is what you're getting instead of a video this week because I am very busy and extremely lazy and I really can't be bothered. So that is basically going to be it, I'm afraid. Also, I want to play some other video games. I really like other video games. I'd like to play some other video games. Rusty, yes, yeah. No, it's not lies, Rusty. It's not lies. What was I playing? What was I playing on Steam the other day, eh? What was I playing? Tell everyone how much time I've wasted on tower domination recently. How much time have I wasted on this game? An exceptionally large amount. Peppa Pig. Fucking... That cartoon is banned in my household. Straight up fucking banned. I've been the Smoking Cheddar. You've been very patient. I have to go places and I have to do things and I have to see people. I cannot remain here any longer. Thank you all very much for visiting the stream this evening. And